Oh, hello there. Sorry about that. I was drinking the tears of Kanan Jarrus fans. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast. I'm John Hoey. We have a loaded show today. We're going to talk about Rebels, Episode 9, the Last Jedi Blu-ray details, including the deleted scenes. And speaking of that, we have a new giveaway contest, which might be our best giveaway yet. But more on that in a minute. First, let's say hi to the Resistance leaders, starting with the guy whose favorite fictional character of all time died last week. James Baney, how you holding up, man?
I think it was a noble death. I think it was good. I'm glad that Kanan actually got his website back. That was a reference to an article that was running a story on how he gained back his SITE site, which I didn't even know that he had a website, but he got it back when his irises turned blue again. But anyway, we'll talk more about Kanan and his death question mark a little bit later.
Now, this guy was out Thursday, but he is back from the editing room, ready to fire up your questions later in the show. What's up, Patrick Covey?
Well, times are to change in Star Wars fans. There's a lot of stuff coming, and we're going to talk about it on this week's episode.
Yes, times are changing, but now we need some poll results. And we asked you guys, speaking of Rebels, Star Wars Rebels has 2 weeks left to go. Now, the ultimate question remains, do you think Ezra Bridger will die in these final episodes? And this was a really close poll. It doesn't get really closer than this. So 23% of you said no, he's not going to die. 38% of you said we're not going to get a clear answer. Dave Filoni is going to Filoni us and just kind of leave it cloudy and mystical and leave us wondering what's really going to happen. And the winning vote, just by 1%, 39% of you, the winning vote said, yes, Ezra will die. Guys, is Ezra going to die in the next 2 weeks?
About this poll, I was surprised that the two closest answers were yes, and we're not going to get a clear answer. I thought we won't get a clear answer will be way lower than yes and no, or way higher than yes and no. Well, we don't know, so we're not going to get a clear answer. That's the obvious choice. But it was actually between yes and that. Now, my answer is no, because what I think is going to happen to Ezra, and this is from the classic Sunday morning cartoon show reboot, he is going to pull a Enzo, which is he was for like one part of the series, he was this kid, and then he, for whatever reason, there was a big traumatic event that happened, and Enzo got lost in the Matrix or whatever, and when he came back, he had a different name, and he was an older person, and he was all scruffed up, and he was this kind of different person who kind of put away his past, and he didn't really ever want to address it because he became a different person, but he really was Enzo, right? So this mirrors Kanan's story, and I think that what's going to happen is he's going to be so affected by all the events that happen, like with the Death Star and all this other stuff and all the events of Rebels, that he's going to go off and he's going to do his own thing. And you know where he's going to show up again? He's going to show up in the Dave Filoni animated show with Luke training Ben when he's a younger kid, and somewhere along their journeys, they're going to meet Ezra Bridger, and he's going to come back like he did like Ahsoka did, older, different, wiser, scruffed up, and we're all going to love it because Dave Filoni is going to get to finish Ezra's story. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, that was a long answer to the poll question. But Pat, how did you feel about these polls?
So basically what I think James is trying to say is that Ezra still could be Jesus.
I was leaning when I heard him say scruffy, I was leaning towards Lorsan Tekka. But I don't know about that. I don't like your vibe there, man. You know how I feel about people going off for 40 years running delis. So the best comment, and people know that, by the way, that was confirmed. Our fans know what that joke is, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, our best comment went to Albert Kleppin at Albert Kleppin. Way to get your handle, man. Nice. No numbers, no nothing, just clean. Albert Kleppin. He said, Tarkin knows Ezra, Vader knows Ezra, Palpatine, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Bail, Mon Mothma all know Ezra. If he doesn't die, they all need to think he's dead or be aware that he ain't a Jedi when the show is over. How are they gonna do that? And you know what? That's a lot of stuff to fill there in terms of people being silent about him. So that's why I lean towards I don't like making up this person went away type of thing, because that's really what you have to do. So kind of like what you were saying, James. It's going to be, I'm curious to see what happens, and we're going to find out our final answers within the next week, because we have the episodes today, and then next week, that's it. I can't believe it, but here it is. Anyway, we'll find more about that very soon. Now, moving on to our giveaway announcement. We have, this is insane. I think this is personally our best giveaway we've ever done. We're calling it the Last Jedi Bundle Giveaway Contest. And we are giving away a Blu-ray copy of The Last Jedi, The Last Jedi novelization by Jason Fry, and 2 Resistance Broadcast t-shirts to 1 lucky listener. Now, to enter, you need to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. That's Resistance Broadcast at Star Wars News Net. And just retweet the contest tweet, which is posted right now, and that's it. But the contest has to be activated, and in order for that to happen, it must hit 750 retweets to be unlocked. So go find that tweet right now, pause the episode, retweet it, make sure you're following us, and you're in it to win it. The Blu-ray copy, the novelization, and 2 of our t-shirts to 1 lucky listener. So good luck to all of you. We're going to run that for a couple weeks, so keep your eyes on that and keep listening. So that's it for the intros here. It's time for Newsnet, James. What's going on this week?
All right, tonight we will be gifted the second hour-long Rebels episode in the second half of the 4th season, the final lead-up to the hour-and-a-half-long series finale. Tonight's episodes are titled Wolves and a Door, as well as A World Beyond Worlds. Now, as of this recording, we have 1 clip that shows us Ezra and the gang greeting and boarding Loth Wolves in preparation of their next mission. As everyone is ready, Ezra says, "Here we go." A perfect metaphor for these final episodes. Now, Patrick, without too much speculation, because we're so close to these episodes airing, how did this clip sit with you as a teaser for these next few episodes?
It was odd. It was like hardly any dialogue. If anything, it was more about expressions. It's showing a little bit more of like facial expressions beyond the art and stuff, or the full dialogue. You have these characters and the wolves looking at each other, sensing feelings through eyes. You notice that Zeb was awfully scared in his eyes, and so the wolves picked up on that. And so that was kind of neat to see that. But other than that, there's really nothing out of this. It's just some people boarding some wolves and walking off into the setting sunset.
Yeah, I like that our last understanding of Zeb was talking about how he says, like, man, I'm glad that this is one of those times I'm glad the Force is with you. And then, like, he kind of shows in this episode that he, again, just doesn't understand that stuff. He doesn't understand what the wolves talk. Are they supposed to? So I definitely like that. He got the most framing from this. But the next couple episodes are not as important as what we got last week. John, I'd like to talk to you about what happened last week on Rebels. Jedi, N-I-G-H-T,
Right.
Jedi Knight. Was this what you expected?
It was. Good night, Kanan. I think it's one of those things that even you, who loves Kanan so much, just saw the writing on the wall kind of thing. And it was one of those things you're just looking between your fingers because you don't want to watch, but you have to. And you know it's going to happen, and you're just waiting for the moment to occur, and it did. And it was what I expected. I don't know that I expected it to happen this soon, so it's hard for me to say it's what I expected in that episode. But ultimately, his fate is what I expected. It kind of felt a little Obi-Wan-ish in terms of the wise Jedi Master going off and sacrificing himself so everyone else can kind of move forward. There's a little bit of destruction of the Empire's fuel cells there and that kind of thing happening. So I saw a little symmetry there in terms of old Obi-Wan and Kanan, even though Kanan wasn't that old. And but yeah, most of us expected he was going to die, and it happened. And now, like you're saying, we're curious to see if we're going to see more of him. And like you and I were kind of talking off air, could this be a Force Ghost adjunct where he speaks through these animals, but he doesn't show up as a spirit? That's kind of where I'm leaning, but I'm curious to see what we're going to get to finish this series out.
Yeah, see, okay, so we also have Dave Filoni, who did an interview with Sci-Fi Wire where he talked pretty intently about why Ezra doesn't recognize the Doom name, Kanan possibly sensing his fate, and why he wouldn't address it with the people he cares about. He also talked about how Hera deals with the grief of the situation and what it means for her in the future. And finally, he also talked about the importance of this story to the creators, the fans, and why it doesn't just exist because the canon dictates it to. You know, I think he kind of calls out the line of like, the last of the Jedi you will be. So it's like, we're not killing off these characters just for that. They have their own story. So, you know, this is a really heavy article that our own Grant Davis really does a great job pulling the best parts and laying it out for Star Wars Newsnet readers. Pat, we didn't really get a chance to talk about what your take on the episodes was, but having read these words from Filoni, what are your thoughts on the direction they decided for the end of the series?
Well, there's two viewpoints here. Number one, we as fans are very spoiled. We are getting so spoiled come up to the end of this thing. Everybody just wants to know how's this thing gonna end? What's going on? We're trying to get evidence out of every single one of these voice actors, trying to ask Filoni a million questions. Poor Pablo Hidalgo is even getting pumped more questions coming up to the end of this, but he's probably like, I saw it coming anyways. And so I feel like as fans, we really should just, you know, take a minute to step back, enjoy what they're giving us, and just see what comes in the following weeks. And then once the series is over, let's start that bigger discussion. Let's start to talk about, you know, the legacy of the show. What's going to come out of that? Now, the second point is Dave Filoni's side, where he's now sitting down and telling us, guys, just trust me, everything is fine. Even if it doesn't make sense to us now, we really need to put our trust in him. If anything, he's proven time and time again he's a wonderful storyteller. The loose ends will be tied up. He might leave a couple in for the next series or to tie in down the line, but this guy's got it handled. Just trust Filoni.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, Pat. I mean, I've got questions right now that we could chat about all we want. Like, what does this mean? You know, the wolf says, I am doomed. Does that mean that he is Kanan? Is that confirmation? And then he's kind of talking about that in these articles. But all of this stuff is going to get answered tonight or last Monday, depending on when you're listening to this. But like, then just a week later, we're going to get all the answers for the series. It's all closed. So there's not really any point other than right now just to sit and talk or just absorb what's happening. And I think this is as of right now, this was a good solid end for Kanan, but we'll see what that really means in the next few
being
weeks.
That kid the night before Christmas and just trying to figure out what Santa's going to bring you. And it's just like, just wait like 6 hours and you'll find out. Just cool it.
Yeah, guys, just have a little bit of patience. Everything's going to be fine. It's not like we have to wait like a year and a half.
And it's going to be something that no one on Earth speculated anyway. So there you go.
Yeah, so just take a chill pill.
All right, guys. Well, we're all excited for Rebels, but moving on, The Last Jedi will be released on digital 2 weeks from tomorrow. That's March 13th, and on Blu-ray March 27th. The exclusive editions by store has been revealed, as well as what features will be included, and the Star Wars Newsnet exclusively broke the list of the deleted scenes. Patrick, you got a good look at these deleted scenes. There's a ton of them. Ooh, Does anything pop out to you particularly interesting with the scene names?
Yeah, there's a couple here. There's one about some stuff with Paige that's going to happen early on in the film. That seems interesting. I know we had seen some stuff in the behind the scenes reel that didn't end up in the movie, so can't wait to see that. How Poe is tied into whatever this thing is, I don't know, and I want to see what this is about. The Mega Destroyer stuff, I assume they're probably talking. I can't tell if they're talking about that ship early on in the movie or if they're talking about the Supremacy. Yeah, I want to see what that's about. And then the Rey and Chewie stuff. I feel like we could have got a little bit more of that, but I understand, with time constraints of the movie, they had to cut it. But that seems really interesting to me as well.
Yeah, and I think one they've talked about, like in magazines and a couple other things, is the caretaker village sequence.
The party.
You know what I mean? So Yeah, the party and all that, and the third lesson, if you will, like that got cut from the movie. I've got 3 lessons for you, and then we only see 2 of them. So it's like, I don't know what's going on, but that's where this is coming in. But then that kind of sets up the next question, John. It's been hinted that there's up to 30 minutes of deleted footage here. Is that a good thing? I mean, or is this potentially just confuse canon junkies? Like, what is this stuff? Is this real? Is this not?
Yeah, that's one of those things where that old adage, if it's not in the final cut, it's not canon, which is a hard set belief. But I think it's a good thing, because if you look at the deleted scenes from The Force Awakens, they don't disrupt the pathway of the plot. It's just additional filler stuff that they knocked out, that JJ pulled out because he felt like it disrupted the flow of the movie, right? So it wasn't like, oh, this deleted scene conflicts with this, what happened in the movie here. That really wasn't the case. Now, if they do that here with The Last Jedi, which one of these may be alluding to an alternate opening or something of that nature, then that gets a little dicey, because people are like, well, I should have went with that one. Should have went with that opening. Would have made the whole movie better, you know? So I think that opens a can of worms. If they're introducing and providing us with, you know, attributes of certain characters and certain personalities that maybe people would help them understand certain scenes like Cano Bite and stuff like that, I'm on board. As long as you're able to compartmentalize and say, that's a deleted scene, and I'm cool with that, because we all know, Rian Johnson said these are completely finished, produced scenes. These aren't just like a camera and a crew walking around with no sound or special effects. These are full, completed scenes. Now, if you could enjoy them and separate them from the movie, I think it's a great thing. It's just extra stuff for us to check out.
Okay, so don't forget Rian Johnson mentioned that there was, a 3-hour cut of the movie,
right.
And then he said, I cut out that stuff. The version that you're getting in the theater is the best version of this film. But do you think when we finally get those scenes, do you think fans are going to be like, whoa, this is the Batman vs. Superman Ultimate Edition. The movie's better with the 3-hour version. Pat, what do you think?
It's a slippery slope here, because on one side you're like, this is the original.
There's that slippery slope again, rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, it's crazy, hard to believe, huh? But yeah, you've got the main movie that Ryan says, all right, here's the Ultimate Edition. This is the movie you saw in theaters. You ain't getting no swanky edition, coming out in the stores in a couple of months or anything like that. I mean, we all know there might be some 3D version or something down the line they might do. Mm-hmm. But other than that, there ain't going to be no little, like, extra minutes of content or anything crazy like that. I feel like sometimes we get a little carried away, and there's certain things in the current canon situation that dictate what is acceptable and what's not acceptable in terms of the content. The content you may enjoy, you can sit back and watch these deleted scenes, enjoy them as you please. That's what Ryan is saying. You guys, it's here. You can enjoy it. You don't have to accept that as canon, but if you want to accept that in your head canon, I say go for it.
I'm throwing you guys one more question. This isn't even in the show notes. I'm throwing them live on the air. Are you guys buying this digital, or are you buying this on the Blu-ray?
I'm gonna wait. I'm an old school guy. I like having the set with the books on my shelf, that kind of thing. And plus, it comes with a digital copy too, so I can wait 2 weeks. I saw the movie 4 times. I loved it. I can exercise. I'm not a very patient guy, but I can exercise 2 weeks of patience to get my digital copy 2 weeks later with the Blu-ray purchase.
Patrick, what about you?
Yeah, I already pre-ordered my Blu-ray forever ago from Target. And I'm like John. I like having the disc, like having that hard content. You can literally sniff the box and be like, oh yeah, this is brand new, brand spanking new. Gotta love that. I do like that the digital stuff is coming out a little bit earlier for those people who really do want to sit down and absorb that. Some of my crazy friends actually buy both. I'm like, you guys are insane. What they do is they give their second digital copy away that they get with the Blu-ray.
Is that just their way to entice people to shift to digital?
I really do think so.
Yeah, it could be. And here's the thing. I'm not a collector by any means. And when The Force Awakens and Rogue One came out, I was like, I'm thinking like, man, I really want that digital version, because I buy every one of my movies on digital. Right. I have over 230 movies through iTunes. Like, I just stopped because DVDs are, VHS are obsolete. DVDs are obsolete, and then now, like, I just foresee it in the future. I'm going to have this giant collection of Blu-rays that I don't even have a Blu-ray player, but iTunes always updates their stuff for free. Like, oh, you have a 4K TV now? You get a free update, and it's all 4K and stuff.
But I think our fans are really going to like to have the Blu-ray.
No, yeah, I know.
Because we're giving away the Blu-ray.
I understand, and I'm saying that the last 2 iterations I have waited because I'm gonna get the digital copy anyway. But my question to fans, and I still don't have an answer for this. Does it make a difference? Do you get more stuff if you buy the Blu-ray because you get deleted scenes on the digital copy too? It feels like you get all the extras.
If you buy the Target exclusive, you get that 40-page book that comes with it.
Yep.
Yeah, so maybe there's some physical things, but everything that comes like digital on the CD, is it the same on the Blu-ray as
also,
it is
James,
on
think about it this way. Like I was saying, if you buy the Blu-ray, right? And whether it's 4K or the Blu-ray, you get a digital copy with it, and that comes with all the special. Comes with all the special features, which you can update later. So you could always put your Blu-ray away, and when the apocalypse happens, and we all go down to analog, and we lose all of our electronics, you can get a portable Blu-ray player and watch The Last Jedi as the world burns.
Yeah, because we lost all of our electronics, but we're gonna have Blu-ray players
via battery. Yes,
and we're gonna be worried about Star Wars movies. All right, last up, we have a fun little story here. Talking on The Late Show to Stephen Colbert, the host, a huge Star Wars geek himself, he asked J.J. Abrams if he could tell the audience about Episode 9. Just one thing. Per usual, he kept things close to the vest, but he did state that the script to the movie is finished. If you check the calendar here, he was able to nail this out in just under 5 months. John, do you think this was from a from scratch situation and JJ is just pumped on this project, or was the reason he and Chris Terrio were able to get this done so quickly is because they were simply rewriting around major plot points that maybe Colin Trevorrow's script originally had?
All right, so I looked into this a little bit in terms of time frames, and I think the script is or could be from scratch, because what I understood by my research is that on average a screenwriter will be tasked with 12 weeks to get a first draft in, so that's 3 months, and then anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks to get through a second draft to final draft, so then you're looking at 5 months, which is kind of where we're at, right? And then I think about Trevorrow and when he got canned, and that was in the story development process. So what would cause him to get canned? Not production, not direction, story development. Yeah. So Kathleen Kennedy probably butted heads with him. He wouldn't budge, and he probably said, "Why'd you kill off Luke?" Or "I wanted to do this, and I want to recast Leia." And she's probably like, "No, we're not doing that." And he's like, "Well, this is my movie." And she's like, "Get out." So she calls up JJ and says, "Look, we gotta write a story. Got to get a movie together."
He wanted to add a T-Rex.
Larry Kazin's out of here. Who you got? Yeah. He wanted to put a raptor.
That took you a second.
He wanted to put a raptor in the movie, and it wasn't going to happen. So you got Chris Terrio, and I think they banged out a new story, and the time frame works out. And they gave him the extension because they moved the movie from May 2019 to December 2019, so he didn't have to crunch it down into an abnormal time frame. And they're ready to rock. They're about, I think, 5 months away from filming. And to answer your question on the short end here, I think it's from scratch. I think JJ wrote this story to end this out with Chris Terrio.
So Pat, this kind of puts us on the fence here. So it looks like he's pretty on schedule. Do you still think that he's just pumped about this project, or do you think this is just kind of like we're so far ahead here as far as like he's got a long time before this movie comes out? Is this just Lucasfilm keeping everything on a certain pace, just in case something crazy happens?
No, actually, I think this is a mixture of both. I believe there was a recent article a couple weeks back where JJ talked to somebody, and he said he was really pumped to do this project. He was ready to go in and dive in head first. He was ready to start working with Chris. So I knew him and Chris had been writing some stuff around. I do believe he has seen the Trevorrow script. Maybe took a few pointers out of that, some stuff he might have liked. I don't think we'll find out about that till, like, you know, way after the film comes out, when we're getting the bonus features and the Blu-ray and whatnot in 2020. But I do feel like he's a little bit ahead of schedule. But in the interview, I believe he said something about they were going to start shooting in July. I was under the assumption they were starting in June for the filming. So I don't know if there was something that got backed up, or maybe there wasn't an actor or actress available
probably
for some
pre-production
stuff. So
in early June,
yeah,
and then filming.
I'm thinking they probably extended pre-production a little bit because they want to get everything in this trilogy wrapped up really well. So I hope that they've got everything under control. I do have faith that JJ's got the good team to get this thing done. If anything crazy does happen, yeah, there's a little bit of that leeway. You know, if something happens, God forbid, Millennium Falcon door drops on Oscar Isaac or something, you know, they got the time. And don't forget, J.J. Abrams is a slow-paced man when it comes to post-production and the editing room cycle, so he wants to always leave enough time to get through that. I remember he was kind of like freaking out during TFA because he's like, I want to get this movie right. And I have a feeling he'll do the exact same thing with episode 9, but maybe not as frantic.
Yeah, so James, to your point about scheduling and being, you know, ahead of schedule or on schedule, The Force Awakens, they had that big announcement where they showed everyone in the room and the cast and all that stuff, and then they're like, we're going to film in a 3 week. I think they started filming May of 2014, which means they had more time for production for that movie than they will for this movie. I think what's different here is that JJ has already played in this playhouse. He knows what it's all about, so that helps. Also, the characters are flushed out. He knows how the actors work. He knows what makes them tick. So I think, you know, we'll probably get a casting announcement May-ish, June, of like maybe some new players. And he worked to the wire with TFA. So I don't know. I don't know if this crunch in time is going to be a hindrance on him, but I'm confident. I feel like he's like chilled and relaxed. I think he's kind of got this thing. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I remember when we were hearing stories of like Daisy Ridley was pulled aside and JJ said, you know, you're acting a little bit wooden and stuff. And these actors, I should say, have 2 movies under their belt. So they're like, you know what to do. You know what to do. I'm going to tell you a little bit what to do, but you know what to do. So they've got it. The best part about this story is that I like to picture this log cabin in the middle of nowhere, and you know, JJ is out there and Chris is out there, and Chris is sitting over on the couch, and he just did this big long shift, and he's drinking some cocoa, and JJ's sitting at the table. There's one light in the room, and he's writing, and then he puts a final dot, and then he sets down his pen, and he goes, Chris, it's done.
Is that a reference to something?
No, it's a reference to my mind's eye.
I'm picturing that's how this Ben Affleck down. And Matt Damon wrote Good Will Hunting too.
Oh, that's actually on a commentary. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that's probably exactly how it did happen. He's like, Matt.
That was on the commentary for Armageddon that you have on Blu-ray.
Oh, yeah. By the way, the commentary for Armageddon is great. Ben Affleck goes into this whole thing about how it doesn't make any sense of why you would want to send drillers to the moon, like how that's somehow better than trying to just teach brilliant astronauts how to do drilling. Yeah, it's so good. But no, I mean, we're done with the major news stories. We got a couple other ones that we want to run through really quick, run down, if you will. John, I'm sending it right back to you to let that scoundrel give us the rundown.
All right, I'm going to take you guys back in time to the Hasbro Toy Fair, so let's punch it, Chewie. As I previously mentioned, I represented Star Wars Newsnet and the Resistance broadcast at the Hasbro Toy Fair in New York City about 10 or so days ago, where they revealed upcoming items from the Star Wars brand for us to report on. So it was their brand reveal of upcoming things that aren't quite out yet, and you can get my full report on it at StarWarsNewsNet.com, but some of the highlights were the Black Series figures. The Kylo Ren on Jakku's centerpiece figure was really cool. The Solo, a Star Wars Story electronic Millennium Falcon with break-off panels, a Mandible escape pod, the ultimate co-pilot Chewbacca, which is like $180 and comes out for Christmas time. So, I mean, it's a lot of money, but it may be a desired item for its ridiculously interactive cuteness. And the big one is the HasLab crowdfunded Jabba's sail barge. This thing was 4 feet wide. It's the largest ship vehicle ever made as a Star Wars toy. And with to every rivet and detail and panel, including the compartments, the rooms, a Jabba figure, the sails, the deck, everything. It's insane. Now it's like Barbie's Playhouse for super Star Wars geeks who love the beginning of Return of the Jedi. But instead of Barbie and Ken in a convertible, you get a sail barge and an overweight slime crime slug. I should mention that the senior brand manager of Hasbro for Star Wars, Andy Ochiltree, came up to me and said that Star Wars Newsnet was his favorite Star Wars site for news, rumors, and information. So that was pretty cool. And I made him say that on film. So we had that documented. So as you would imagine, I was on Cloud City pretty much in my head when he told me that. So cheers to our team at Star Wars Newsnet for doing such a great job covering Hasbro and Star Wars in general. And thanks to Val for putting the article together as I was live tweeting that thing like a maniac. But just to give you guys a quick experience of what it was like. So they take you into the room, give you your badge. They bring you into the auditorium and tell you pretty much you can't film or record anything. If we see any photos or videos going online during this presentation, you could say bye-bye to your relationship with Hasbro. So I was like, oh, okay, so I'll just tweet. I will not take any photos. So that's when I put out that tweet like, I can't do anything now, but I'll wait till I get to the showroom. So then they take you down to the showroom, and there's Marvel, Play-Doh, all the My Little Pony, Play School, all these crazy things, and 85% of the media there rushed to Star Wars. Even they skipped over Marvel, Black Panther. Everyone wanted to be by the Star Wars toys. It was like Black Friday running into a store. Like, it was nuts. Like, professional photographers with their, high def cameras. I'm sitting there with my iPhone taking photos, trying to lean over people and stuff. But in the center of it all was that Jabba sail barge. And that thing is so big. It is insane, guys. But $500, I don't know about that. But
for people who buy hot toys and stuff, man, $500 is like not that big of a deal. They're like, I'll pick that up. That's cool. I think
they said they needed 5,000 people to purchase it in order for it to be like to make it happen. Sure. So we'll see how they do with that. Good luck to Hasbro with that. It is a really impressive venture, though. But hit me up on Twitter if you want more information on that. I won't drag it too much out in the rundown. Hopefully, I'll give you guys a picture of what it's like to be there. The last story in the rundown: ABC News and Friends of Star Wars Newsnet. Clayton Sandell and his team have released their documentary on sounds of The Last Jedi called Force of Sound, and the 30-minute documentary features the Skywalker sound team and how they were able to create the sound effects for the movie based on director Rian Johnson's wishes, using everything from digital techniques to Foley sound design, which is old-school recordings of objects to produce unique, familiar sounds for the film, like crumping up tinfoil or like banging horseshoes and all this old-school type of techniques that are pretty cool to see going into such a big budget movie. Now, if you love features on how movies are made, especially Star Wars, this is a must-see. So head over to ABC News online, check that out, or go find our friend Clayton Sandell on Twitter. He has several links to his page, and he'll even talk to you about it, so it's really cool. Now, be sure to head to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your latest news, editorials, and reviews. That's your Scoundrels Rundown for this week. So let's check in with Pat to see what he's brought back from the question vault this week. Chewie, get us out of here.
All right, guys, I'm opening this vault door. Salacious, what are you doing in here? Guess that means it's time for Tweeting with the Resistance. All right, Twitterverse, you sent us our questions this week. We're going to kick off our first question, which comes from Bell at AskTheResistance on Twitter, and they asked, if there's new cast additions, when can we expect to know about them? John, what's your take on this one?
I actually think I accidentally answered this from my perspective a little bit earlier talking about JJ. When I compared it to the announcement of The Force Awakens, which was JJ's project, it was about 3 to 4 weeks before they started filming. So I think we're going to get an idea of the core of this cast. Obviously the main core that's coming back, but some other cast of characters probably around early June is my guess, when they start pre-production and that kind of thing. Just before, instead of sites like us leaking it, they'll probably try to get it out to us. So then they'll be ready to go for some filming at the end of July. So my take is early June, but thank you, Bell, for the question. Good question.
Our next question comes from Sean Sanrude at RudeCold on Twitter. He asked, will we see more Force users with lightsabers, or will it just be Rey and Ren with the lightsabers? What's your take on this, James?
Oh, man, this is a tricky question because I think ideally we all want to see more lightsabers, but I can't possibly imagine or see who's going to be involved. I definitely don't think they're bringing back Broom Kid. I don't think like Broom Kid later down the line is going to, or she's going to have her whole audience of you know, younglings that she's been teaching, and they're all going to have their own lightsabers. I honestly just think they're going to have her and Rey be the only two who are using lightsabers. However, they are going to give us the fight that everybody kind of said we didn't get, because we didn't get like lightsabers clashing. Don't count the Luke and Ben thing, but like we really didn't get like a lightsaber fight clash scene. Which I always throw back in the face of that. I was like, we got one of the best lightsaber fights we've ever seen. They just never touched each other, and that's not that big of a deal to me. But to get back to the question, I do think that probably Rey and Ren in this case are going to be the only characters with lightsabers, which is fine. It's fine with me personally. However you guys feel about it, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that. I think we are going to get just those two with the sabers, but chill out, guys. We'll probably get more awesome saber content coming in the future. Our next question comes from KA at Kevin_inside07. He asked, do you think episode 9 is going to be an open end or a closed end? And what is your prediction for the final scene? Let's start with John on this one. How are you feeling about episode 9, buddy?
I've put out what my desired ending would be, and that is, you know, that art director we talked about is going to have that beautiful scenery and setting, and you're going to have this huge lightsaber battle between Kylo Ren and Rey, and she's going to get the best of him, and he's going to say, I know what I have to do, and he's going to kill himself with his lightsaber. They're going to be face to face, and he's going to end his tragedy. That's how I see it. I know people disagree with me, and I respect you, love you guys. Don't attack me, please. But I do think it's finally going to end on a closed end, and I think it's going to be Rey maybe taking on the last name Skywalker. I'm not sure, but she's going to be looking out to some kind of horizon, and she's going to see the Force ghost of Luke, Yoda, and then Leia's going to show up. And I think that's how they're going to wrap it up.
Ooh. Yeah.
Tearjerker, man.
You know, it's funny.
And remember, you can close out a trilogy and still continue it, because the Return of the Jedi ended the story, and they were able to pick it back up. So I think they will close this out for the sake of this trilogy. Doesn't mean we're not going to get more in the future, but it's going to have a closed end.
Man, sorry, I think I was with you like all the way up to, and you slipped one thing in there, which we've actually talked about this before, the whole like Leia's a Force ghost at the end of episode 9 thing before, and I forgot about it. I was thinking you were all going to lead up to he sacrifices himself, and it's some sort of like, a good thing that he did, so therefore he's kind of in some way redeemed or whatever. And I thought she was going to look over the horizon, she was going to see Luke and Ben like together, right? But you know what? I think you've got a better thing. I'm not really sure about Yoda showing up in that scene, but I could easily Luke's probably going to be there, and then your Leia makes way more sense, because it's an audience thing. It's not a story thing anymore. Seeing her at the end of that movie is like, it's done, it's finished, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think you're dead on with that prediction, and I agree 100%. I think that it's going to close the story, and you could continue it on, but I actually do think 9 is going to be the end of this stuff, man. And that's the biggest fear, that people, if you move away from this story, are people going to still care about Star Wars? And I think they will, but that's the move that Lucasfilm has to make, and I think they are going to make that move. And
Kevin said, P.S. Love your podcast. So
yeah, there
thanks,
you go,
Kevin. That's very nice of you. Appreciate
wonder
that.
why he made it in the Twitter section. No,
I'm a sucker. I'm a sucker for PS.
Oh yeah.
I love PS. No one uses PS anymore.
So basically,
start tweeting us with PS more, and
you'll end up on the podcast.
Yeah. Hey Pat, how many did you pull out of the vault? Because I think we got a little extra time. We could do a couple more.
Oh my gosh,
that's crazy talk.
Oh wow, breaking the fourth wall. Thanks, James.
What do you got?
All right, guys, it's time for some extra questions. Our next question comes from Ryan on Twitter at RyanScott00. He asks us, will the Resistance be as far along and organized like the Rebellion in Jedi to stand up to the First Order, or will the goal be more of a cut the head off the snake kind of deal? I guess both happened in Jedi? How are you guys feeling about this, James?
So this question's kind of... When the first Star Wars came out, they really kind of set up the Rebellion as like it was this really, really, really small group. Like they sent what they had at the Death Star, and it was only a small group, a couple fighters here and there. You know, I think like there's an official number, but I remember like when the original movies were out before special editions and new canon and all this other stuff, they kind of played out that number to be, you know, like closer to like 13 fighters or something.
Dude, they use Porkins. There's no way he's like the best fighter pilot. They just threw everyone they had. That guy was working at like a Wendy's, and they're like, dude, hop in an X-Wing and go try to blow up the Death Star.
Yeah, so my thing with this is like, do I feel like they're going to be in the same position? And I think that that's kind of what they set up. They set up this story that kind of led the Resistance to become what the Rebellion was in A New Hope. They are small, they're ragtag, they don't have a lot going for them, but they're going to go up against this First Order that's this massive, unbeatable enemy, and they're somehow going to pull it off. Now, I don't know if it's exactly going to be like this whole like cut off the snake and it's just like one quick movement thing, like a proton torpedo headed down the exhaust port of, you know what I mean, which blows up the desk. I don't know if this is going to be exactly that, but I do think that somehow or another they're setting up to tell you about how the lowly Resistance that doesn't have much going for them was still able to overcome the adversity against an evil empire, I mean First Order, and they're going to defeat them. And that's always kind of the spirit of Star Wars in general. So I think JJ's got this on lock, and that's kind of the story that he was set up for, and that's how he'll present it in Episode 9.
John, how are you feeling?
It really depends on the time skip, and I hope that they do give us a little bit of a time jump so that this trilogy doesn't take place over the course of a week, you know? Yeah. We waited 35 years or 30 years in these characters' stories for us to just hop it back in for a week. I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. So give me like 3 years or so, and maybe they were able to galvanize some people who at first didn't answer that beacon call on Crate, and they're like, oh, wait, Luke Skywalker came back, and this happened? I'm hopeful again. And they all kind of came back from the Outer Rim and stuff like that. So
yeah, it gives Luke's sacrifice some meaning, you know?
Exactly, yeah. So if they gave it a time jump and they're able to build up some new forces, I think they will. I think they will be able to match them up a little bit stronger than the phrase that they were in, straggling from in The Last Jedi.
I have a crazy asinine theory, and it's also the title of an upcoming comic, guys. I think Lando's coming back in 9. I think he's going to be the one who answers Leia's call. He'll be the only one. He'll be the reason that the Resistance starts to build back up again.
Much Billy D, man?
Use him while he's still alive. Come on,
what is he going to do?
Him. Hey, how you guys doing? I heard Leia needed something.
I think it's tricky if he answers that call and then he shows up and he kind of, helps out the Resistance, and then they do a time skip of like 3 or 4 years later. What did he do? Did he say like, well, now that you're back on the feet, I'm out? Like, that's the beginning of Episode 9. Like, I got you guys rolling again. I'm out because I'm not going to be a main character in this movie. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. So he would have to be a main character. It'd have to be a pivotal role in this new Resistance.
Let me tell you guys about this body kit I had in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
But how hard would you guys laugh if literally he started the movie? He's like, all right, guys, everything's patched up. I'm out of here. Back to Bespin.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just puts his cape on and just takes off.
And, hey, it would at least keep the people from saying there wasn't Lando in the sequel trilogy.
All right, Pat, give us one more.
All right, guys, final question comes from our buddy Trash Buddha at Gorilla Monk. This guy seems to be on our list almost every other week.
He's got good questions.
Gotta love it. He does. He's a very likable question guy.
And Pat, you tackle this one.
Yeah, this is all you, man.
All right. And his question is, do you think we will get any classic planets and aliens, preferably not Gungans, from the original trilogy and prequel trilogy in Episode 9? I would really love that. I feel like after the backlash we've heard in 7 and 8, I feel like Lucasfilm is listening to bringing back some of these classic aliens and things from, Legends and stuff like that. They're trying to bring back some of these ideas and stuff. We just saw Twi'leks in the Solo trailer. They're back. They're finally listening to the fans. Mm-hmm. They're going to start peppering in all these little aliens here and there in 9, I think, a lot. And then we may see some more in Kenobi or whatever comes after, maybe the beginning of the Rian Johnson trilogy. This stuff will show up again. And don't forget, I believe it was Pomojima several months back had an article saying that we were hearing theories that some of these planets were already rumored to come back. So think about it. Think about it.
How about Rey beating Kylo Ren in Vader's castle on Mustafar?
I've always wanted that. And that also points back to our buddy John Burns, who personally did paintings for us of Kylo Ren going to the castle. Mm-hmm. So don't forget, it's still a possibility. And for all of you visual dictionary junkies, Snoke's ring had stone from underneath Vader's castle. I think they're hinting at something there. And don't forget, Luke had the little necklace with a little Sith crystal, or what did they call it, James?
Kyber crystal?
Was it? It was like a Kyber crystal, but it was red, and it was like,
I think it was a ring pop.
It was okay. So Luke's been sucking on a ring pop, and he left a little bit and put it on a necklace. I like it.
An ancient Sith Kyber crystal that was from an old Crusader or something along those lines.
Something like that, yeah. So the little hints are there that maybe we're going back to Vader's castle. I don't think it was just a coincidence that we saw in Rogue One. It was a really nice nod to the McCory stuff from way back in the day, but I don't think Vader's castle is anywhere near from being done. Even if it doesn't show up in Episode 9, it could come up in the Rian Johnson trilogy or something down the line. So hold out your hope. It'll probably come back in some other form. All right, guys, thanks for sending in your Twitter questions. If we didn't answer your questions that you sent us, don't worry. It may appear in a future episode. Send those questions to us on Twitter at RBATSWNN or resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. We'll check them out, and if we like it, we'll throw it in the episode for you guys. Back to you, John.
All right, thanks, Pat. Yeah, we love your questions. You guys really make us think. Sometimes you straight up stump us. So thank you. You make the show better with all these awesome questions. Keep them coming, as Pat said. And while you're sending us those questions, make sure you're also subscribed on iTunes, SoundCloud, or YouTube so you're alerted when our episodes post. Now head over to our store, tpublic.com/user/Resistance Broadcast, and pick up Resistance Broadcast merchandise. Reminder, our Thrawn and Kanan Doom shirts are only available for one more week. So if you'd been thinking about grabbing one of these on a t-shirt, coffee mug, sticker, poster, whatever, grab those before they are gone. Just like Kanan. Gone. For all your latest Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, and information, go to our website, StarWarsNewsNet.com. Hey, James, where can people reach you?
People can reach me at Twitter. That's at MyraTrunks, MIRAHTRUNKS, and at Instagram on the same name. You're probably going to end up finding me sitting and watching videos of that Kessel Run Millennium Falcon. I was just like blown away by that thing. He's like, watch this, watch it. It does the lights. It keeps doing the lights. He's like, cool, it's got a little sequence at the end. Check it out. And then pieces start popping off of that thing and it's flying everywhere. And I literally had an audible reaction when I saw that thing. I was like, oh, it's popping off. It was great. I love that toy. That was just really cool. I mean, like, I don't need to own one, but it was awesome. That's where you can find me.
All right. And Pat, where can they find you?
Well, you guys can find me checking out some Star Wars theory videos on YouTube, catching up on canon, or browsing StarWarsNewsNet.com. If you guys aren't already checking out the articles over there, go check them out. They're well crafted, well researched, and always brand new news. All the things in the Star Wars universe, it's all there. Go check it out. And you guys can find me on Twitter at Ganon136.
Right on. And you can hit me up on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, and also find me writing articles and editorials over at StarWarsNewsNet.com, as Pat was just talking about. Thank you for listening, interacting with us, spreading the word about our show, and welcome to our new listeners who have stopped by for the first time. Remember to enter the Last Jedi bundle giveaway. All you have to do, again, follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN and retweet the contest tweet, and you're in. Once we hit 750 retweets, the contest is activated, and we'll announce a winner in 2 weeks. So go do that. Good luck, And hopefully you walk away with that awesome Last Jedi bundle if I don't rig the contest for myself. I'm just kidding. Tune in to our next episode this Thursday, where we'll discuss what would have happened if Padme didn't die at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Would she still have sent Luke and Leia away to be hidden and safe from Palpatine and Vader? Tune in to find out what we think. Make sure you're subscribed so you're alerted when the episode posts, and we'll see you again Thursday morning, right here on the Resistance Broadcast.